woke up this morning with the sunrise in my eyes. My rock sweeter, meet the one I love. I don't know how, don't know why, I've been toasting all my life. Oh, it's sweeter. I've been toasting all my life.
Welcome to Phillip Island, Victoria in Australia. What a setting we have for this great sporting contest, the Little Penguin Sea to Dune race. Nervous moments always as they gather on the beach, the tension mounting, and away they go. There's the defending champion, wearing his familiar navy blue and white, great waddling style. Another pre-race favourite though, losing touch with the pack. Maybe that's why. A few too many fish in the day's feeding. There's a familiar face, Skip McIntyre, 8 times a champion back in the 90s, a very successful coach now, keeping a keen eye on proceedings. This the leading group, 1 or 2 still able to put on a show for the camera, others just ploughing straight over it. Some resorting to shortcuts. Sad that cheating has crept into this beautiful sport. The judges will have a look at that. But up at the front, the pace is relentless, closing in on those sand dunes that will offer a bed for the night. The fatigue starting to tell. Who's got the finishing kick up on the outside? What a turn of pace from that one, whichever one it is. No answer from the rest, and he takes victory. What a win. There we are, into the Burrow, building an extension with his winnings, and back tomorrow to try and defend his title here on Phillip Island.
They've just had it start at 8:50.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Live Penguin TV. My name's Megan, and I'm going to be your host tonight as we watch the world's smallest species of penguin, our little penguins, coming out of the water, crossing the beach and heading back to their burrows here on Phillip Island in Victoria, Australia. And we do already have some penguins who are coming out of the water down here on our beach. So I'll zoom in on them and we'll watch them while I tell you a little bit about what we're going to be doing tonight. So tonight is night 4 of our Meet the Team mini-series here on Live Penguin TV. So we will have a special guest joining us in a few minutes. But tonight I'm also joined by Tom. Tom, do you want to come say hello and let us know what you're going to be doing tonight?
Hi everyone. Which one is it that way? Can't see.
We found him.
Can't see. I'll be keeping an eye on the questions on mainly on Facebook. So if you've got any questions for our team tonight, make them interesting and we'll try and pass a few through. Have a good night.
Great, thank you so much, Tom. So tonight we're going to be mostly talking about the broad picture for conservation here on Phillip Island. So if you have any questions about conservation and our conservation plans for Phillip Island, they're the things we're going to be talking about tonight. So send through all of your questions on YouTube and Facebook. Tom will be reading those and sending us through some of the best questions to answer tonight. We do also have a ranger going through the questions on Facebook who will be doing their best to get back to as many of you as possible. Now, tonight we are joining you from Phillip Island, which is also known as Millau. And we are very lucky to be on this beautiful island, which has been looked after for many thousands of years by the Bunurong. The Bunurong are the traditional custodians here on Millau, and I would like to acknowledge them and their elders past, present and future for caring for this beautiful country that we're lucky enough to be on tonight. And I believe our guest is also joining us from tonight. And we are also, Phillip Island Nature Parks is bringing Live Penguin TV to you tonight, and we are a non-for-profit organisation. So if you do want to come and support us here at Phillip Island Nature Parks, you can come and visit us, not just here at the Penguin Parade, but we do manage over 20% of Phillip Island. So you can also come and visit the Koala Reserve, Churchill Island, the Antarctic journey down at the Nobbies, and you are helping to contribute to the conservation work that we do here at Phillip Island Nature Parks. And tonight, our special guest is the manager of conservation. So she is in charge of directing our conservation goals for our conservation team here at Phillip Island Nature Parks. And her name is Jessica McKelson. So I'm going to put her up on the screen. Hello, Jess. How are you?
Good, thanks. Hi, Megan. Hi, Tom. Thanks for having me tonight.
Oh, it's great to have you here on Live Penguin TV, Jess. So your role is Conservation Manager. So what does that entail?
Yeah. So essentially, I oversee and lead the conservation direction for the nature parks. I have a team of 36 amazing professionals that work in our team, which I understand you've been meeting each night. And pretty much the team's divided into a number of functions. So we have the environment team, which is our environmental rangers. We have our research team, which are our scientists and our penguin technicians. And we also have a nursery, a native plant nursery, and we also oversee our animal wildlife hospital.
So we have quite a diverse team here at Phillip Island Nature Parks, and we look after so many different areas and different habitat types and wildlife all around Phillip Island. What's your day-to-day role, Jess? So what do you do day-to-day?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm probably the person that sits behind the scenes the most and actually sort of lead the strategic plans. When I first started at the nature parks over 3 years ago, we developed a 30-year conservation vision, and then following on from that, our 5-year plan. So my main role is to ensure that our 5-year conservation plan is put into action. What that means from a day-to-day basis is that I check in with our environment team to make sure that our environment across our nature reserve, so ensuring that our beaches and our woodlands environments are well protected. What are our operational goals and plans? Where are we striving? Are we meeting that? What changes do we make? As well as touching base with our research team, ensuring that everything that we do has a research-led focus. So our little penguins can thrive into the future. It also means that on a day-to-day basis that I may spend, a lot of people think this is boring, but this is actually the fundamental part of what we do and how we can ensure that we have healthy populations of wildlife is, that our policies and our risks and all that stuff behind the computer, behind the scenes, is operating at a high level. What's really important for Phillip Island is that we're an island haven, and for the state of Victoria, we can contribute to our threatened species programs, and we have dramatically, and we will so into the future. So, ensuring that our island plays a key role to conservation, not only for the island and our community, but for the broader state of Victoria and Australia. So really working on that strategic side, connecting with our local community, working with our partners, and ensuring that our team are doing the best that we can and contributing to the health of our environment and our native wildlife.
Wow, that's a lot. It definitely doesn't sound boring at all, and it's very, very important for all of our animals we have here on Phillip Island. So not just our little penguins that we're watching coming home tonight, but on these streams, even especially last night, we had Ricali, we had wallabies. The night before, we had a little bandicoot running around. We have our short-tailed shearwaters, hooded plovers, a number of animals here on Phillip Island that we're working to protect. And why is being on an island such an important thing for conservation?
It's a good question, Megan. So I feel that I'm so privileged to work with such an extraordinary team, but also base a lot of our conservation efforts haven't just been in the last 5 to 10 years. This is like building on like the giants of conservation over the last 30 to 40 years. We know that there's over, quite close to 50 years of penguin research. These are the true conservationists that started back in the day without a label, people that are enthusiasts, that are nature, nature lovers. And for the island back just over 30 years ago, we knew that foxes were our key threat. The introduction of foxes or feral animals were a huge threat to our little penguins and also our short-tailed shearwaters. And so islands play a really significant role in the recovery of our native wildlife. They play a significant role to the biodiversity for any country around the world. And we know that by eradicating some of our feral animals, that our native wildlife can have secure, safe populations, while mainlands, really work towards those conservation efforts. So for us, achieving a fox-free Phillip Island in 2017 is a huge milestone that took over 30 years of dedication, skills and expertise towards where we are today. And really working, like we think about little penguins as our flagship, they really are for Phillip Island. So I always feel that islands play a significant role to our total biodiversity outcomes. They are safeguarding, like for example, Phillip Island, safeguarding a lot of our native species. And I feel really privileged to be leading that work and ensuring that this island at Phillip Island remains fox-free. And now we're working on eradications of feral cats, knowing that they're our next biggest threat and to our wildlife. Since the eradication of foxes, we've been able to really see our little penguins thrive to, be the largest population in the world, which I'm sure a lot of our viewers tonight already know that. But also the role of Phillip Island is not just little penguins. We also have the largest population of short-tailed shearwaters, nesting and breeding on Phillip Island, as well as the Australian fur seals with the largest population, and possibly eastern barred bandicoots, which were introduced to really, protect as a critically endangered species and breed on an island that's safeguarded so we can contribute to the broader population within Victoria. We also have a flourishing population of native wildlife like Cape Barren geese and wallabies. So I kind of think about the big five for Phillip Island, kind of like Africa.
Like if you were to go on safari on Phillip Island, what would you see?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like a big five. And the island, just by eradicating foxes, has opened up a lot of opportunities. And our team working towards ensuring those terrestrial threats from other wildlife that are really, supporting these significant wildlife populations. So, from a larger point of view, islands play a huge role if you can get rid of those key threats that are, really contributing to native wildlife decline.
Yeah, and we are definitely very lucky to be here on Phillip Island and to have such an incredible diversity of wildlife. And I still get so excited every time I see a bandicoot, even though they've been here for 3 years. We've just seen more and more of them. And you're talking about some of our long-term research, how long it's taken to get rid of foxes. And one of the first kind of research projects here at the parade was the counting of the penguins. And I know that all of our regular watchers, our wattle watchers, like to guess how many penguins come in each night. And we do have Jordan, who will be counting tonight. She was also counting last night. So I know they're really keen to know the penguin numbers that we had last night. And Jess, do you want to have a guess as to how many you think came in last night?
I think it was close to 900. 850 or so to 900.
We did have, I think it was just over 800 the night before. We had a few more last night. Tom, do you have the number there for us?
It was 1367.
1367, yeah. It was a few more than the night before, which is really good. But that penguin count, it's not just so we get excited and know how many penguins are coming in and we can have a fun time guessing. It has also been really important. It was something that indicated to conservationists that there was something going on with the penguins and that action needed to be taken, which was including the eradication of foxes. So other than feral cats, which you said are the next kind of big thing to target, are there any other big issues that we're facing in conservation here on Phillip Island into the future?
Yeah. So all around the world, we face a number of challenges as the climate changes. And for us at Phillip Island, we certainly have a changing ecosystem in our marine environment. And that's where our little penguins and seals come in. And they teach us a lot about what's happening in the marine environment. Our scientists spend a lot of time really analysing the prey and looking at the weights and just the health of the populations, which is an indicator for our marine environment. And not only is climate change contributing to warmer waters, we do know that it's also, increasing our sea temperature, and we've got rising waters, we've got hotter and drier environments, especially in Australia. We experienced a very dry environment a few years ago where our penguins, were vulnerable to heat stress and a lot of our wildlife. So we have rapidly changing climatic conditions. And that means we have to be adaptable and resilient to that. And a lot of the work that we do now in relation to safeguarding our population of little penguins is around that research of climate change and what we need to do to modify the environment into the future so they have a cooler environment and it's modified to be more resilient to a hotter and drier environment. Some of the other key threats that we have is, urbanisation. We're very fortunate to live on an island with this wildlife. Well, I am anyway. And one of the reasons I came here was that I was surrounded by nature. And a lot of people love to be around nature, but we also got to respect that nature has a place and that our connection to that is not to just take that for granted. So we as a human species are also a challenge, and we need to sort of work with and live in this environment. And along with that comes, obviously a changing terrestrial conditions, and certainly a number of species that may move from other environments as they seek cooler waters. And that's really where our research is looking at those changes in not only our marine but also our terrestrial environments.
Yeah, so we certainly have a big responsibility to care for the land that we're lucky enough to live on, and environments all around the world. And you've worked in a variety of different environments, Jess. So what was the pathway that kind of led you here to the nature parks?
Yeah, I suppose before I moved back to Australia, I worked in Indonesia for 5 years, and you'll see I have an orangutan on my back wall at my own house. I worked with great apes. My background is working with primates. I came from a zoo industry. I worked in Indonesia, North Sumatra and Aceh for over 5 years, rescuing, rehabilitating and leading the release of orangutans. But once again, a flagship species for habitat protection. After 5 years, I understood that Australia is also up there for habitat, deforestation and a number of habitat loss. And I really wanted to apply my lessons learnt with working with some of the best primatologists and conservationists back at home. And so at the time I was in West Borneo or West Kalimantan, and I applied for a job when I was in a swamp forest. I was working with local communities, and really my background is also working with local communities. I think it's really important. The Indigenous communities can teach us a lot about our connection to place and land, and I took those lessons learned and I decided to apply for this job back in Australia, and really wanted to help drive the conservation outcomes for Phillip Island Nature Park so we can continue to enjoy our wonderful native wildlife populations. Understanding some of the challenges that Australia is facing, it's really important that building really clear, easy strategies that enable all of us to make a change and a difference. And that's what really drove me back to that passion of coming back to Australia and investing in our own backyard. But really, internationally, it's the same challenges applied. And I've always got that passion, whether it's back home, in Australia, or internationally. But working with primates certainly helped me look at a lot about humans, so non-human primates, and apply those lessons learned back here.
And that sounds like it would have been an incredible place to work out in the forests of Indonesia. Do you have any good stories from your time out there?
I do.
I'm sure you have many. If you can pick one.
Many. I don't know where to start. I spent, a lot of people probably don't realise, I spent a lot of time without power or technology, and really living with Indigenous communities in the middle of nowhere, longhouses. During that time, I remember at one point I was taking 2 orangutans up for training to a forest school out in the middle of nowhere in Aceh. And as I was taking them out, I had 2 animals that I had released 2 years before move through the forest. They came down, they greeted me, and they took the 2 animals that I was working with and took them on. And then I took a big step back. So there's many experiences of connection, remembering, I suppose, all that hard work that you put into wildlife protection actually does pay off. And to this day, that animal that came down to greet me and remember me and embrace me has now had an offspring, so contributing to the next wild population. And for me, that animal came from a pretty poor background to where it is today. It's contributing more holistically for a critically endangered species. Funny stories, many. My first time having to bathe in a river as the only female with a sarong on, not so good experience. Having to learn a number of different cultural adaptations and changes, not the best either. I think I've experienced them all. And we always we always talk about our number of penguin poo stories, Megan, at night live stream.
We love to talk about poo.
Yeah, it would have to be one of those. When I first came to Phillip Island, the penguin technicians took me out to learn how to, take penguins out of their burrows and weigh them. And it was chick season, and I think up there I not only had fleas that sort of hit me, I had poo from like one end of my arm all the way up to my elbows. And I thought that was normal, but it really wasn't normal. And they took lots of photos and laughed at me. So up there would have to be the penguin handling experiences. And certainly, I think that was a big laugh for everyone.
Yeah, handling penguins definitely comes with.
And also fleas. I was like, what's that? Oh my God.
Yeah, you need to make sure you have a good shower after handling penguins, that's for sure.
I don't know how you do it, but gracefully.
Well, it sounds like you've had some fantastic experiences connecting with nature and seeing the results of the work that you've done. And what was it like when you came back to Australia? Was it a bit of a shock?
Culturally, there is always a huge shock coming back to Australia. I think the biggest thing that I took for, that really I respected and never take for granted is having hot water. And in Australia, we're so fortunate to be able to drink out of our tap. So, and culturally, it took a long time for me to really process where we were as a country and moving forward. At the same time, I learned a lot about being strong, resilient, and, really knowing that deep down, if I'm going to make a difference to this world, especially my own backyard, then you got to believe in yourself. I spent a number of years by myself in the forest, thinking and strategizing and problem solving. And so I brought those skills back home, and culturally, they're in me forever. The other thing that I think is really important is that cultural connection to country. And I feel so privileged and blessed that, I was talking about walking in the footsteps of giants before and the history, but actually the connection to country for our Indigenous and our traditional owners. We have a lot to learn, and one of the jobs, that we do is really protecting that cultural heritage and learning a lot from that. And that's what excites me into the future, is that, learning from our traditional owners and applying, traditional methods or learnings and teachings and working together on country. I think that for me really excites me, and it's a great way of leading conservation into the future, is that connection to place.
Yeah, and certainly that's a big part of the plan that you helped write in for the nature parks into the future, with the changes that the Boonwurrung would have seen over this landscape over the thousands of years, to helping us to see how we're going to face those challenges into the future. So I might actually see if we have any questions. I've just realised that we haven't answered any questions just yet. I'm sure everyone has their questions ready for Jess. Do we have any questions, Tom?
Yeah, this is from Karen Elizabeth. Has all the conservation work helped the flora environment as much as the fauna environment?
All the conservation work helped
The flora environment as much as the fauna.
Yes, 100%. A lot of our work is based on the natural habitat and our trying to keep the natural landscape. So the ecology of the land is really important. Our purpose is to protect nature for wildlife, and it's really important that we try to keep that Indigenous flora, in place, but also building that resilient landscape over time. Yeah, a lot of our rangers' work is working on weed control, so introduce weeds. So every time you go and you plant your garden out and you bring in introduced species that are exotic species, we spend a lot of our time in our natural landscapes removing those species. They're invasive and they do take over our native wildlife habitats. Also ensuring that our landscape, is protected from fire, although, we can't 100% guarantee that we're fire ready for when it comes into fire season. A lot of the rangers work also on patrolling our beaches and not only that, picking up rubbish, ensuring that our nesting shorebirds are protected and that the right environment is for them. So removing, once again, those invasive weeds. A lot of our time is spent on ensuring that our natural landscapes are in place for our wildlife to flourish.
Yeah, we heard a lot about weed control from Brandon on Saturday, and it's as much as the flora isn't as cute and cuddly as the fauna and our cute little penguins and bandicoots, we need that healthy habitat if we want our wildlife to thrive. And you mentioned our purpose to protect nature for wildlife, and we also, part of our purpose is to inspire people to act, and we do that through ecotourism. And you guys hopefully watching Live Penguin TV, hopefully we're inspiring you as well to protect our natural environment. And Jess, you've worked a bit in ecotourism as well, and how important do you think ecotourism is for helping that conservation work that we do?
Yeah, I think it's critical to connect people to nature and to healthy landscapes. But also it's critical to understand that we are so privileged and we're invited guests into those wild areas. And we can connect, and we all enjoy watching the penguins on screen right now, but nothing is more, soulful and life-changing, or whatever way that each one of us wants to interpret that, is to being in a natural landscape, hearing that wild penguin colony, watching those behaviours, wild animal behaviours. And so I think if you can bring people in and be really respectful and contribute to those conservation goals and that broader strategy, then I think it's really important to continue to support those organisations like us through tourism. I've seen changes within people over my many years, and they've really changed their lives. And I think it's also changed what happens on ground. Without people, we can't do what we do. Without people coming to see and to experience and connect with, our penguins or our koalas at the Koala Centre or at Churchill Island, we can't continue doing this amazing work that we do. And I think at the end of the day, everyone has a story, everyone's got an experience, and everyone loves being outdoors and connecting to these places. So I think it's critical for the work that we do.
Yeah, definitely. And for anyone who has come to see the penguins, they've been to Phillip Island Nature Parks and visited any of our sites, that's what you're contributing towards, that conservation, education and research. And if you're not able to come join us, you can also donate to the Penguin Foundation, which is a great cause, which goes right back into a lot of the conservation and research work that we do. Like Becca was talking about last night, it's helped to fund the seal work out at Seal Rocks. It's helped with a lot of different initiatives. So you can donate to the Penguin Foundation if you do want to help us do the work that we do here at Phillip Island Nature Parks. And Jess, for anyone wanting to get into a career in conservation and maybe do something like what you're doing, what advice would you give them?
Good question, Megan. Good question. What advice? One of the best advice, some of the best advice ever given to me is to really follow your heart and your dreams. And that sounds all wishy-washy and lovely, to say, but actually at the end of the day, I volunteered a lot of my time and I really persisted. And I just knew deep down that this is what I want to do. I want to wake up and go, work in a place that I can contribute and enjoy. I don't want to be miserable in my job. And my connection was to nature in whatever shape. And then I also had some amazing mentors, and I still continue to this day to have some incredible mentors in my life that help me with my journey. And I think that's really important to help you with any career, is to have that voice of reason that's going to support you. And, we all go to school and, and we talk about careers, But at the end of the day, it's continuing that support network and ensuring that you believe in yourself. But you can also, that you can do anything. Nothing's impossible at the end of the day. And I think having good people behind you and good mentors that push you and make things feel very uncomfortable at times is where I ended up. And that's what I would like to provide, that advice to anyone that wants to have a career, either working with penguins or in a conservation field, that it's okay and that you will get there if you believe in that.
Definitely, I think that's fantastic advice. And Beck was saying something similar last night. Just you've got to be confident, ask people, build connections, and do what you're passionate about and volunteer where you can. So we're coming towards the end of our live Penguin TV tonight. It's gone super fast and we've had plenty of penguins coming in. So do you have any last take-home messages or anything you want to say to our viewers before we finish up tonight, Jess?
That I hope that they continue enjoying our live viewing, and if they ever have the opportunity to come and say hi to us at Nature Parks, then I would love that opportunity for them to come and connect to what we do, but also to really go into their own backyards and see what they value with nature and find that special place for them. I think we've all got a lot to contribute. We all know what the issues are around the world. We all know that sometimes it really feels impossible to make that difference. But actually those small things like being a responsible pet owner or, putting your litter in the bin or recycling or whatever, those small changes or those things that we do actually do make a difference on ground to what we do at a larger scale. That we all have an impact and we all have a choice. And if we can connect and continue that lifelong connection that our traditional owners have passed down, then I think, we're on a great path for change, positive change. And I hope everyone can find that connection tomorrow and go out and explore nature and find that moment for them. Healthy environments is health and well-being. So it's a win-win.
Definitely. If we have a healthy environment around us, we're going to be all the healthier for it. And we've talked about some big issues that are facing our environment tonight, but like you said, even though it seems like a huge issue, if each and every person does something small, it may seem insignificant in your daily life, like walking your dog on a lead, keeping your cat indoors at night, something really easy, if we all do it, makes a huge difference for our environment. So I do want to thank you so much, Jess, for joining us on Live Penguin TV tonight. I do want to thank all of our viewers for being here to watch us, to watch the little penguins tonight and to hear about Jess and what she does here at Phillip Island Nature Parks. We will be continuing our Meet the Team series tomorrow night with two familiar faces. We'll be having Jordan and Stephen talking about their work in the visitor experience team here at Phillip Island Nature Parks. So tune in again tomorrow night, and hopefully by the end of the week you'll know all of our faces. You will be able to come to the nature park and say, oh, that's Jess, that's Megan, that's Tom, and say hello to us. And I hope that you've taken something positive away from tonight, that you can help protect our environment and to respect the land that we're on and help to care for it. So again, thank you so much for joining us tonight, Jess.
Thanks, Megan. Thanks, Tom. I'm distracted by those little fat penguins that are walking up that penguin highway. So you never get bored watching them. They're so cute.
I think everyone says that. We never get sick of watching the penguins, no matter how many times we've seen them coming in. And there's a wallaby on the beach as well to finish off our stream. And remember, if you do want to come visit us, you are helping contribute towards our conservation. You can also do that by donating to the Penguin Foundation. And we hope that you tune in again tomorrow night, that you love watching the penguins as much as we do. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Bye, everyone. Bye, Jess.
Bye.